preconceived idea of the gentle Thai, the non-aggressive Thai, and the very polite Thai. When you see a Muay Thai fight, the action in the ring simply does not fit the picture you have of the Thai in general. Why do they fight like this? Why do they use their foot? The foot is the lowest thing of the human body. You don't point it at anybody, you don't use it at all. And here, they kick their faces with their foot.
The present Thai society has developed out of a long history. Our aspirations now is to become civilized on the same footing as the European countries, any other country in the world. So we have certain standards of behavior, of living that we aspire to. And one of these standards is the normal way of life which is acceptable throughout the world, that is the peaceful life. This is nothing modern because we have aspired to have peace throughout the whole history. It happens that our history has been interspersed with great violent periods. So our livelihood is a matter of trying to achieve peace, but at the same time, if necessary, we'll get up and fight. Always struggle, there's always infighting, and also a threat from the neighboring principalities and states.
The traditional weapons of war were swords and spears, but the Thais were also skilled in unarmed combat, a fighting art they developed to be devastatingly effective. This became Muay Thai, the most ferocious and deadly martial art in the world, the national sport of Thailand.
Nobody knows how old the tradition of Muay Thai really is. We know that the Sukhothai period flourished around 700 years ago, but it is much older than that, because in order to to get to a peak, there must have been a lead-up period. Okay, so we may well be talking to something about 700 to 1,000 years ago, and throughout that period, it was a formative period. The struggle, the fighting has been going on continually, we believe. So Muay Thai itself can be as old as ancient history.
Muay Thai has been called lots of things by Westerners, but the Thais call it 8-armed combat: fists, elbows, knees, and feet. Each fighter's hands were bound with knotted rope, which added to the effectiveness of the blows. And in grudge matches, the practice of embedding ground glass into the hemp made for a bloody contest. The ferociousness of this no-holds-barred fighting led to an out-of-hand dismissal of the sport by international sporting bodies and its banning in most Western countries.
To begin with, Muay Thai was misunderstood as a rough fisticuff type of physical exercise. Kickboxing grew out of Muay Thai, as I believe, and you can see what sort of, what is the word to use here, misunderstanding that made Muay Thai into kickboxing. The ritualistic aspects were not fully understood.
We are now about to witness a Siamese boxing match. Contestants step out from the corners and poke their guards by walking about and crouching in a comical manner. They're praying for victory. I think the guards will be on the side of the best left jab. If they make good, they're going with Ziegfeld. There they go now. A couple of fast boys. I don't know the names, but we'll call them Butch and Spider. Butch shoots over a fast poke to the right ear, and then Spider counters Butch is down. Jump again. It's a game boy. Believe me, folks, a game boy. Remember, folks, we're in the battle of the century. Butch pokes him right. No, the left. No, the right. Graham McNamee speaking. Spider shot over a stiff kick to midsection. Boy, don't wear 3-ounce gloves on their feet. Excitement here is terrific. They're both down. No, they're both up again. Believe me, folks, those boys can take it. There they go in hands, feet, knees, everything. The championship is trembling the balance. Spider's down. Hey, Butch. Wait a minute. No, Goldberg is down. I'll tell you who won. Just a second, folks.
As the sport of Muay Thai grew in popularity, training became more intensive. It ranged from the obvious to the esoteric. Here, the boxer is splashing water in his eyes in an attempt to control the natural inclination to blink.
Before, there were no gloves, there were no weight classes. A ring didn't exist in the sense that it's used now. Training styles were different. For instance, rope skipping or so, which is a very basic daily training of a boxer, didn't exist. On the other hand, they kicked banana trunks. They lifted weights on a string with their teeth. And these are all old-fashioned but very good methods of training, which the modern Muay Thai fighter doesn't use anymore.
Training may have changed over the years, but it's still as grueling as ever. The rituals that accompanied the preparation for battle were also carried over into the sport of Muay Thai. Tattooing the body with magic symbols for protection is still practiced by some temple monks. Using a two-pronged steel fork, the most intricate designs are tattooed into the skin with astonishing speed and skill.
ผมแต่เขาไม่สักที่ต่ออันนี้ครับ
There is a lot of magic involved in the art of warfare and in Muay Thai and in many other aspects of Thai life. You have to appreciate that although we are a Buddhistic country, we believe in the teachings of Lord Buddha. Surely long before Buddhism came into Thailand, we believed in magic. We believed in ghosts and how to deal with these ghosts and good luck, bad luck, and how to deal or how to make bad luck good.
There's a lengthy pre-fight ritual involved. The first is the tying on of the prasiettes, each one containing prayers and inscriptions. The same applies to the mong kong, which is for the protection of the head.
มงคลเนี่ยหรือผ้าบาดเจ็บเนี่ยมันเกี่ยวกับไสยศาสตร์ก่อนที่จะออกรบเป็นนักรบของโบราณเนี่ยก่อนที่จะออกรบเนี่ยเขาจะมีพระหรือเมื่ออาจารย์เนี่ยลงคาถาอาคมอันนี้มงคลก็พาดที่หัวนี่เขาก็นึกว่าไปออกรบจะได้แคล้วคลาดต่อการต่อสู้แต่ทีนี้สมัยผ้าบาดเจ็บนี่เอาไว้เนี่ยบางทีมีพระอยู่หรือมีคาถาหรือมีผ้ายันผูกไว้กันเหนียวกันแตกหัวแตกหน้าเนี่ยพวกนี้พอทำให้แคล้วคลาดได้สำหรับมงคลเนี่ยถ้าเป็นสมัยนี้เขาจะต้องเอาออกไม่งั้นเดี๋ยวก็จะหลุดหมดสมัยก่อนนี้เขาไม่หลุดเอาไม่นั่นผูกไว้แน่นเลยสมัยนี้เขาเปลี่ยนแปลงกันมา
The Muay, the pre-fight dance, works at several levels, the most practical of which, it's a good way of warming up. It's performed as a way of paying homage to the fighter's teacher and any others to whom they owe love and respect. It's meditative, helping the fighter to center his energies, but it's also used to cast spells against the opponent and to ward off forces of evil.
ทีนี้เกิดอีกปีหนึ่งผมลืมจุดธูปบอกว่าขอสมาลาโทษเวทีผมเอานักมวยต่อยของผมมาต่อยคืนแรกแล้วคู่แรกลืมบอกนะคือเรานึกว่าไม่เป็นไรนะปีเดียวนะข้ามไปลืมอ่ะปีแรกลูกน้องผมต่อยเอาไปวันแรกก็ตายคนแรกแล้วลูกน้องผมตายเลย
ตายเพราะอะไรฮะ
ตายเพราะคิดว่ามันจะเป็นอาถรรพ์ของเวทีเป็นตายเลยนะตายคนแรกต่อยคนแรกก็ตายแล้วคืนแรกตายเลยเนี่ยมันก็เป็นอาถรรพ์อย่างนี้
The Muay Thai of today has been substantially diluted from its original form to gain acceptance in the West, but it still has the power to shock the spectator with its violence.
There have been ring deaths, but so have there been in international boxing. There have been years where as many as 6 have been killed in the ring, but there have also been years where none have been killed. The economic factor is all important. Nobody wants to get hurt and beaten up badly for nothing. So there has to be an incentive, and that incentive is financial. If a young man or a young boy that works in the rice field or tends his buffalo, he doesn't know much about what's happening beyond his village. But he knows about Thai boxing, because that is just part of it, even in the village. So, if the crop is not so good, this is how can we add to the income? Well, fighting helps.
Oran lives in a small village called Nong Ki in the northeast of Thailand, the poorest region of the country. He trains at a local camp which has had the distinction of turning out several Muay Thai champions. The boxing camp is run by Pramod, who is also the teacher at the local school. The camp's also somewhat of a home for stray kids. Oran is one of those strays.
Oran like to come to see in my camp, to watch in my camp when another boxer train. He stand at the front, and then I ask him, if you want to be the boxer? He said yes. So then you must take your mother and your father to come to me.
It soon became apparent that the boy's home life was not a happy one. A blow to the head as a very young child has left him with serious hearing problems. He misses most of what is taught in school. Pramod took Oran into his camp.
If he live with his family, maybe he not got happiness. So I told Serm to take him to his home. And Serm love Oran.
Serm is one of the trainers at the camp. He volunteered to look after Oran and to bring him up in his home. This arrangement seemed to suit everybody all round, especially Oran, who was in the process of training for his first public exhibition fight in the village. Oran is lucky. He belongs to a reputable camp. His teacher, Pramod, and his surrogate father, Serm, will instill in him a sense of dedication and respect. If he trains hard, he will be able to make a good living, for a while at least. Others are not so lucky. In a country where much of the population lives below the poverty line, and mainly in rural areas, the drift to the city in search of work is inevitable. Bar fights are one way to make money. Bars like this can be found in night spots all over Thailand. This one is at Pattaya, just south of Bangkok. Once Thailand's premier tourist resort, it's now known for its seedy nightlife and as a place for the US Navy to disgorge its troops on R&R leave. But Pattaya has something the Thais are very proud of. Sidyot Thong, the most famous boxing camp in Thailand.
The boys here, most of them live in a big dormitory which is situated above the camp. There's about 15 boys training at the moment. It fluctuates all the time.
San Liam is 14 years old. He's been training and living at this camp since he was 12. He's an intelligent boy and a talented fighter.
ตื่นมา6 โมงเช้าแล้วก็ล้างหน้าแปรงฟันตื่นมา6 โมงเช้าแล้วล้างหน้าแปรงฟันแล้วก็แต่งตัวออกไปวิ่งถามเขาดูก่อนได้ไม่ได้ซ้อมเลิกเสร็จก็4 โมงเช้าประมาณ4 โมงเช้าซ้อมเสร็จเล่นกายบริหารก็กินข้าวประมาณ4 โมงครึ่งกินข้าว4 โมงครึ่งแล้วอาบน้ำนอนหลังจากนอนแล้ว2 โมงครึ่งก็ตื่นออกมาวิ่งอีกทีวิ่ง4 กิโลแล้วกลับมาโดดเชือกครับกลับมาโดดเชือกแล้วก็ซ้อมเตะเป้าเล่นกระสอบเตะกระสอบเล่นกายบริหารเล่นกล้ามท้องทุกท้องครับอาบน้ำแล้วลงมาทานข้าวประมาณ6 โมงแล้วทานข้าวเสร็จก็มานั่งดูทีวีครับดูทีวีจนถึง4 ทุ่มแล้วเข้านอนเหมือนเดิมแล้วตื่นมา6 โมงเช้าก็วิ่งเหมือนเดิม
By Western standards, it's a bit rough, but if the Westerns come here, they might be surprised to see about 15 boys living in the one dormitory. But for Thailand, for the Thai boxing camps, it's quite good standard.
ต่อยแล้วต่อยล็อกพึ่งเกาะไม่ต่อยนี่เป็นรังป่านร่วงแล้วล่ะนิสัยดีห้ามนักมวยสอนในหลักที่ถูกไม่ให้เสียคนถึงเวลาซ้อมก็ซ้อม
นักมวยไทยเนี่ยมันเป็น3 อย่าง1ออกกำลังกายเป็นศิลปะเป็นวิชาชีพได้คือเด็กถ้าชอบเราก็หัดเป็นศิลปะได้ออกกำลังกายได้ถ้าชอบเป็นอาชีพเราก็หัดให้เป็นอาชีพได้คือมันได้3 อย่างนักมวยไทยเนี่ยมันเป็น3 อย่าง1ออกกำลังกายเป็นศิลปะเป็นวิชาชีพได้คือเด็กถ้าชอบเราก็หัดเป็นศิลปะได้ออกกำลังกายได้ถ้าชอบเป็นอาชีพเราก็หัดให้เป็นอาชีพได้คือมันได้3 อย่างก็เวลาเด็กเนี่ยมาอยู่กับผมมากเท่าไหร่ผมก็ชอบเท่านั้นคือว่าผมเป็นคนรักเด็กคือว่าเด็กๆเนี่ยเราลำบากมาแต่เราได้มวยเราหัดมวยเนี่ยถ้าเกิดผมไม่มีมวยเนี่ยผมก็คิดว่าผมก็ต้องเป็นเด็กเกเรซึ่งขณะนี้ผมเนี่ยเหล้าไม่กินบุหรี่ไม่สูบกาแฟโอเลี้ยงลิโพ แล้วผมได้มวยเนี่ยทำให้เราเนี่ยมีใจจิตใจเป็นนักกีฬาพอตัวเลยทำให้เราเนี่ยรักเด็กด้วยอยากให้เด็กอดอยากมากินอยู่นอนอยู่กับเราเจ็บป่วยเนี่ยเรารักษาให้ได้เราก็สบายใจ
เพราะที่ค่ายนี้ไม่แพ้ลงมาไม่มีการตบตีนักมวยค่ายนี้ดังที่สุดในประเทศไทย
ให้อย่าให้มันหลุดให้มันลงขวางอย่างนี้นะปั๊บให้ลงเฉียงลงอันนี้ดีแล้วเอาลองดูดิจับเก้ปัญหาเก้ปัญหาปั๊บนั่นแหละ
Sun Liam's training is especially hard at this time. He's working up to a fight at the local stadium. Sun Liam's fight is only one of many this night. The fights start with the very youngest boys, around 8 or 9 years old, and continue through the night up to the older and more experienced fighters. Sun Liam waits nervously for his call. The pre-fight dance, the muay, begins. The fight goes the full 5 rounds and there's no knockout. Sun Liam wins on points. There are no cheers, no applause for the winner, just a modest purse, but he's happy. If he keeps on winning in the provinces, he'll make the big time. And Bangkok. With a population of over 6 million and growth outstripping its infrastructure, Bangkok is a city which places almost unbearable pressure on the inhabitants. Despite the crowds, the noise, the dirt and the endless traffic jams, Bangkok still exerts a fascination for the visitor. For the Muay Thai fighter, it can mean fame and fortune. And this is where fame and fortune are to be found. This is Mecca as far as Thai boxing is concerned. This is Lumpini Stadium. Crowds of up to 15,000 jam this stadium night after night. People who come to witness the Muay Thai spectacle and to bet.
The Thai character is a gamey character, likes to play and likes to bet. And Muay Thai, being so widely practiced and having such a huge following, betting is a very major part of it. It draws the crowds.
Only a few make it to Lumpini and the top, and one of the few is a 19-year-old boxer called Nam Kabuan. Nam Kabuan has a winning smile, movie star good looks, and an easy manner which make him a natural with the media and sports fans. He too comes from the village of Nong Ki.
When the children saw Nam Kabuan, he said, "Hey, Nam Kabuan!" And I think he is the hero for everyone here.
It is hard to be champion. In my camp, in the morning they must get trained about 4 hours, and in the afternoon about 4 hours. So all day he will be get trained about 8 hours.
While Nam Kabuan gears up for his next championship fight at Lumpini, the day of young Oran's big fight has dawned. The first call of the day is to the temple for a blessing.
The monks become involved in many of the lay activities simply because they work closely with the community. They are living humans, they're men, and they understand the needs, the thoughts of fellow men. And when it comes to the subject of Muay Thai, they also follow the sport. And they participate in it, not in the sense of actually fighting in Muay Thai.
The exhibition fight has been organized by a local promoter from a neighboring village. By winning, Oran has the chance to earn his very first money. A win will also be a way of paying tribute to his teacher Pramod and his trainer Selm. The fight is fast and furious and exhausting, not least of all for the referee, whose reflexes need to be lightning fast to prevent any foul kicks when one of the boys goes down. When not under pressure from his opponent, Oran is under pressure from his trainer. The bell goes, and the fight is Oran's. Friendly punters share their winnings with the champ. The Thais claim that Muay Thai is the king of all the martial arts. Some years ago, this claim was challenged by the proponents of karate, taekwondo, and kung fu.
There was a Hong Kong team of Kung Fu fighters, and each and every one lost in the first round. And they went back screaming for brutal and what you cannot, that's not a sport. And they came back about 2 years ago for a revenge match. And the same thing happened. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, knockouts. You know. And they just couldn't understand why. That's all their fancy kung fu stuff, which has no meaning. You see, you don't hurt a Thai fighter with that. They all lose, and they are not losing because they are worse technicians or they are bad fighters or their technique is worthless. No, it's not the reason at all. They lose because they have no battering experience. They have never been smashed from one corner to the other. They have never been kicked in the face in their life before. While the Thais have taken punishment right from the first day, from the word go, when they train. And that punishment the foreigners are not used to. That's why many of them lose in the first round. You see. They can't take the hammering. There are much more sophisticated techniques than Muay Thai, but they are all games. They are not fights.
At Lumpini Stadium, they're getting ready for the big fight. Nam Kabuan is defending his title. Namkabuan is in peak condition, at the height of his physical powers. But he has a weakness. His facial skin is delicate. It breaks too easily. Blows to the face must be avoided. The fight begins. Then a short, sharp jab with the elbow connects with Namkabuan's right eye. The elbow cuts like a razor, leaving a fine but deep incision. The challenger cannot hide his satisfaction. The referee stops the fight. The doctor makes a quick diagnosis. The fight can continue. Now Namkabuan is bleeding badly. His opponent has been successful in opening the wound. Sweat and blood mix with the liniment and run stinging into his eyes. The crowd is going crazy as the odds start to go against the champion. His corner desperately tries to stem the bleeding. The odds go up and down. By the final round, the fighters are exhausted. A tense moment until the scorecards are read. The crowd roars. Namkabuan is still the champ. After the fight, and the photographs, and the interviews, Namkabuan will go to the hospital and have his face stitched. Not for the first time, and certainly not for the last. He's 19 and will maybe fight for another 5 years. There are over 500,000 Thai boxers in Thailand. Only a few will make it to the top.